podcast. Thank you guys so much for your continued support. Please continue to interact with the video. It really helps their algorithm and gets the word out there more about this. Thank you to my Patreon members and anybody that supported my channel in that way. Financial support is never expected, so it's always appreciated. So thank you for that. I want to do a moment of silence for the person still struggling with intrusive thoughts or addiction or anything like that. So on the count of 3, I'm going to do a moment of silence. 1, 2, 3. Okay, thank you for that. And without further ado, I want to go ahead and introduce my guest for the day. Go ahead and introduce yourself and where you went and what years.
Hi, I'm Krysta. My first program was Skyview Academy. I went there in 2006. And then when it shut down, I was transferred to Crosscreek Academy and stayed there until the end of 2009.
Okay, and walk us through your childhood and what led up to you being sent away.
So my childhood, I went through a lot of sexual abuse. It started at 1.5 years and went on until about 16 by my grandfather. My parents split. My dad was also very, very sexually abusive and physically abusive and mentally and emotionally, kind of every way somebody can abuse you. My mom was an alcoholic and a workaholic. And probably about like 11 or 12, I started lashing out really bad. Had real bad suicidal thoughts, depression, real bad anxiety. I was running away, fighting with my parents a lot. My parents said that they were worried that if they didn't get me some kind of help and they didn't have the resources themselves, that I was going to be dead. So I think that's kind of what led to it, is I think that they had good intentions of wanting to help me.
Okay. And how did you walk us through how, or first of all, did you know you were going to go there?
No, not at all. My mom always made threats about sending me to like a military school or, something like that, but they sounded like pretty empty threats. I was actually asleep in my bed. It was the second day of sophomore year of high school for me. And I was woken up in the middle of the night. I was wearing a bra and panties in my bed. And 2 large men came in my room, woke me up, didn't even let me get dressed or anything, and shackled my feet and handcuffed my hands and carried me out of there. So I had no idea that it was coming. It was never something talked about, like on a serious level.
Okay. Do you remember them threatening you with handcuffs or handcuffing you?
Yeah, they did. They didn't threaten. They just did it. They foot shackled me and handcuffed me.
Okay. And how did you get there?
They put me in the back of a car and drove me there. We drove all night. It was in Nevada. I'm from California, so I think it was about an 8-hour drive.
Okay. And what do you remember about when you first got there?
So when I arrived at Skyview, I remember feeling very disoriented and confused and upset. I really believed that my parents were just going to come get me. They were going to cave. This wasn't a permanent thing. Like, this wasn't going to last very long. They strip searched me pretty soon after arriving. And I remember feeling violated and embarrassed and upset. I felt really upset.
Okay. Do you remember them going over a physical rule manual with you or anything like that, buddying you up? What do you remember about when you first got there?
So at Skyview, no, I don't remember being buddied up. The first day I was with a staff member, I think pretty much the whole day. They took me to get uniforms at a room. They picked out my sizing and my uniforms and took away my street clothes, which was a bra and panties still. They had a blanket over me. And they showed me where I was going to be sleeping, which was like a trailer. It was like a big trailer with a bunch of bunks in it. And then a bathroom to the side. So there was probably 20 other girls inside that trailer. And then they showed me my bunk. I was with the staff pretty much the whole day. And then the second day, I just was kind of set off. They're like, these are the people, you can't talk to the boys. These are the people you can talk to. And this is your schedule.
Okay. And where was Skyview? Is that in Arizona?
No, that's in Nevada.
Nevada, okay. I'm pretty sure one of my best friends from the program ran away from Skyview.
Yeah, there was a couple people that ran away. I know
That's
one person
full.
who ran away didn't make it. It's in the middle of nowhere. It's pretty desolate around it.
Is it in the middle of a desert?
Yeah, it is. It's in the middle of a desert.
Okay. And like how long did it take for after you got there for everything to fully sink in?
Honestly, I don't know that it did while I was at Skyview. I was only at Skyview for 4 or 5 months. I wasn't there very long. And Skyview was nothing like Cross Creek. Like Skyview was very much more like a summer camp kind of vibe. It was very, very chill. They said you can't talk to the boys, but everybody did. On Friday nights, the owner or the main guy in charge would come to the girls' dorm and bring us ice cream and snacks, and we all just like hung out and did each other's hair. It was very much like summer camp, and I honestly didn't hate it. It wasn't horrible. My living situation at home was not good. So it was kind of nice to get away. The only thing was I couldn't have my phone. I couldn't have my own stuff. The uniforms were ugly. It was kind of that kind of vibe at Skyview. Now, Cross Creek is a completely different story. Um, but yeah, I mean, I just eventually was like, I'm going to go home. And then when it started getting shut down, um, I was like, well, I'm going home now. That was fun. But that obviously didn't end up happening.
Okay. Was it points and levels? Were there seminars there? How were you supposed to graduate Skyview?
Yeah, Skyview had all the same seminars as I think majority of the programs. Definitely the same as Skyview, discovery, focus, the principal seminars. I only went to orientation while I was at Skyview. But very much more like lax. Like they said you had levels. I think really you just had to be good and not get in trouble. And then, you'd graduate within a year is what they would say.
Okay. Would you like get consequenced for stuff and lose points? Like, was there merits and demerits? Was there like points, or was it just kind of like staff decided?
Not that I remember. No, not that I remember. Skyview very much was, but Cross Creek, I mean, Cross Creek very much was. Skyview, I never got like a slip, like, like a punishment slip like I did at Cross Creek. Yeah, no, I don't remember there being points.
Okay. And if you had to estimate how many people on average were there when you first got there to Skyview and how many people were there when you left?
So when I first got there, like I said, there's only one girls' dorm, so 20 women. And I'm assuming on the male side, there was about the same. Now, when I left, it was unusual circumstances, right? Because it was getting shut down. And I believe the FBI was involved. And it was chaos. And so some people were going to other programs like Cross Creek or, what have you. And some people were going home. And so that happened very quickly. The people who were going, what was the other one called? Horizons was the other one that a lot of people went to. So like when it was time to go to Horizons, they put them on a bus and they were gone. So when I left, there was probably altogether like 15 of us, male and female.
Okay. And do you have any idea why they shut down?
From what I understand, it had something to do with like inappropriate pictures of minors. The way that the male staff treated the women that I saw was very inappropriate. I mean, looking back now, I mean, we were between ages of like 12 and 16. And I heard rumors of things. I was never sexually abused there or in an inappropriate relationship, but there were women that were, and they were children. I know they got raided because there was something like child pornography going on. So.
Okay. And what happened? Were you there the day? Oh yeah, obviously you were there when they got shut down.
Mm-hmm.
What happened that day?
There was a lot of what I believe to be police officers or like undercover. They were coming in, removing files. It was chaos. Things were being taken apart. It was like while we were there, things were just falling apart. Staff were chaotic. Any small rules, like any rules we had, were kind of out the window. Everybody was just kind of doing their thing. The last week, I would say that I was there.
So they didn't put you on silence or anything?
No. No, it was
Okay.
just kind of chaos.
What kind of rumors did you hear? What kind of things did you hear about? Like, was it like more grooming or actual full-on like sexual abuse to the
Oh no,
students?
I heard that there was other girls there that were having sex with male staff, or performing oral sex on them,
Yeah.
taking pictures of them. I think that I was really lucky that I wasn't there while that was, when that like I wasn't a part of that, luckily, because I could
Okay.
have been.
That was before your time then, you think?
I'm not sure if it was before my time. I'm sure it was happening while I was there. I think that a lot of it started before I got there, and I just got lucky and not mixed in with it, you know?
Okay. What was the hardest part of being at Skyview? And how did you deal with it when you were there?
I think the hardest part was just being stripped of most of if not all of your freedoms, like your basic human, like I couldn't have tampons. Like I'm a woman, I need that.
Yeah.
I had no connection with my family or friends because you weren't allowed to have phone calls there. At least I wasn't while I
Okay.
was there. I could mail letters, but a letter takes some time to get to somebody. And when you're struggling, sometimes you don't feel like you have that time.
Yeah.
Um, I just feel like I missed out on a lot, you know? But I would attribute that to both programs, not just Skyview, like both together. Because if I was just at Skyview for 4 months, I wouldn't have missed out on as much. Gosh, I'm on the phone. Please. Hold on 1 second. Ouch, ouch, oh no. Sorry, my dog.
It's all
If I
good.
was just away for 4 months, I wouldn't have missed out on, high school dances and, just being a teenager, you
Yeah.
know? And when I came home, I felt like I was so isolated and my social skills had been like messed with. You know what I mean? Like I felt awkward. I felt like I couldn't hold a conversation. I felt like I didn't fit in. That was the hardest thing. And I think I just dealt with it by shoving it in while I was there. I
Okay.
internalized a lot, and that wasn't healthy either.
Okay. How was the food there? Was it horrible? Was it decent? Was it good?
The food at Skyview wasn't horrible. Um, it was a lot of processed food though. You know what I mean? Like most of it was similar to the other program I was at.
Okay.
But because they were feeding on a smaller scale, because Cross Creek was so much bigger. Um, I think it was better because of that. I don't know. There was a lady in there that cooked, and for the most part, the food was all right.
Okay. And was there anything positive about your experience at Skyview at all? It's totally fine if there isn't.
The only thing I can say that was positive is I met two of my best friends that I'm still best friends with today, and that's pretty incredible.
Okay. Walk us through how you got transferred from, or what do you remember about the day that you left, which would be the day that Skyview shut down, I would assume,
Yeah.
that you went to Cross Creek, and how did you get there?
So they were reading off of a list. We all gathered around to find out because it was like the last, like Horizon people already left. People from I think Ivy Ridge or whatever already left. It was down to like people who were going home who hadn't been picked up yet, and people going to Cross Creek, and like they were reading off names. And I was like, well, my parents definitely are going to take me home. And then they said people going to Cross Creek, and they were reading off the list, and they came to my name, and I was like, holy fuck. I was like, I felt so defeated. I'd heard horrible rumors that Cross Creek was like a prison, and I was like, I didn't want to go. They put us on a bus, like a Greyhound bus, and I don't remember much of the ride. I cried the whole way, and I was upset the whole way, and I was like begging to call my mom, and of course they wouldn't let me. Um, so yeah, that's what I remember from that day.
Okay. What do you remember about when you first got to Cross Creek? Did they buddy you up with somebody? Did they show you a rule manual? What happened?
Yes. So when I got to Cross Creek, you have a buddy. What did they call him? I cannot remember for the life of me right now. But yeah, I had a buddy. Her name was Sarah. She was my buddy, and she was supposed to go over the rule book with me, which she did. All the levels, they called them cats. So like a cat 1 through cat 5, in severity. I remember them telling us anybody who was at Skyview with you, you were on silence from. So like the friends I had made, the connections I made, I was not allowed to talk to them. I remember it being like a slap in the face. Like, holy shit. Like things just got really bad. Things just got so much worse. I was already away from my family. I already had lost most of my freedoms. And now it just got worse. They put me in this ugly, bright yellow t-shirt. So the way they worked with their levels is you were bright yellow, then bright orange, then teal, then button up. And then from there, once you're in a button up, you can move up your levels through, a point system, and then also going to your seminars and doing the requirements,
Okay. Did they start you at level 1, 0 points?
Yeah, you weren't even level 1 yet. You were like level 0 until you got into a button up. You had to prove that you weren't a danger to yourself or others by going up in those colored shirts.
Okay. So wait, on level 0, you would get through those shirts, and then
Yeah.
you go to.
So
Okay.
until you were into a button up, you could start working up your level. So I don't know if you were technically level 1, but you couldn't you couldn't go from an orange shirt to level 2. You had to be in a button up to start working your levels. So
Okay.
I consider level 0.
How would you earn the other colors before
I
you
think
could?
just proving that you weren't a danger, not acting out, not breaking a bunch of rules, because I think the only way you went back to like say an orange shirt is if you dropped all of your levels, like did a cat 5 or a cat 4, or if you tried to kill yourself, or if you tried to harm somebody else. So I think just proving you were safe got you into a button up.
Okay. And how long after you got to Cross Creek did they give you your first phone call, or did they?
Yeah, I got a first phone call. I want to say it was like a couple weeks though. Yeah, I think it was a couple weeks. But, it was in the room with a therapist, and I felt like I had to be really careful what I said.
Okay. And I forgot to ask you this. How many seminars did you complete at Skyview? And the ones you completed at Skyview, did they make you start over at Cross Creek?
Yeah, no, I only did orientation at Skyview. That's the only one I completed. And then I did the rest of them at Cross Creek. I completed all of them. I finished the program, but they didn't have orientation when I went to Cross Creek. They said they stopped doing it. It was just into discovery, I believe. So
Okay. I wonder if they would have made you do orientation over again if they had that still at Cross Creek.
I think they do, because one of my friends had completed Focus at Skyview and still had to go through Focus again at Cross Creek. So I think they probably would have.
Okay. And how long did it take for things to sink in at Cross Creek?
Oh, it was pretty abrupt. I would say the first night, to be honest. I was like, I've never in my life felt so devastated, or like I just felt like I lost all my hope. Like I had no hope left. I remember laying in my bunk just crying. I had to have the door like open, like propped open with light coming in, so I couldn't sleep. And so I just like laid there crying. I mean, it sunk in pretty fast. I think I don't think it would have sunk in so fast had I just went to Cross Creek, but the fact that I went to Skyview, that program got shut down, and my parents still sent me to Cross Creek. I knew they were serious.
Okay. At either of these places, did your parents send you a commitment letter?
Yes, they did at Cross Creek. I did get a commitment letter, and I had to send them a confession letter.
Okay. How long after you got to Cross Creek, or do you remember that you got your commitment letter?
A couple weeks. I think I got it before I got my first phone call.
Okay, interesting. So the first seminar you went through was Discovery. What did you get through all your seminars the first time?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
What was your I am statement?
I am a beautiful, intelligent, pure, special, and stunning young woman.
Okay. Do you remember your purpose?
No, I don't.
Okay.
I wish I did.
Do you remember what your stretch was?
Yes,
Focus?
I was a mime.
Okay, interesting. I was Ricky Martin living.
No way.
Yeah.
That's great.
Which is very crazy, because I ended up using hard drugs and living la vida loca when I got out. So I don't know if that was like some like prediction shit or some mind control, like this is what you're doing now.
Well, maybe not though, because mine was a mime, and I still have never learned to shut up. So
yeah, who knows? What did you think about the life boat process in Focus?
I thought it was cold as fuck. Like, it really upset me. Um, I thought it was cold. I didn't like it. Yeah, it really bothered me.
Okay. Did you remember to give yourself a life vote, or did you remember to vote for yourself, or did
Nope.
you think that? Okay.
I didn't get it. Yeah.
Did you get killed off?
I did.
Okay. Okay. What was the hardest part, or what was the worst part about going through Discovery for you?
The facilitator, like made me speak, and he like made me share about why I felt like I had gotten to this point in life. He's like, "Why do you think you're here? What traumatic thing?" Like, he was like mocking, what traumatic thing that made your life so hard? And I was like, "Well, I was molested for, up until like right before I got here, and I think that really messed me up." And he's like, "You got to stop playing the victim. What did you do to cause that to happen to you?" And I was like, whoa, like it just felt very, like that was the worst part. And then I felt embarrassed. And then a lot of shame came up for me. And I was like, maybe it was my fault. And I really internalized a lot of that in a room full of all these people judging and watching. It just brought up a lot for me. So
Yeah.
that was the worst.
What about Focus?
The worst part,
Or the hardest?
the hardest part, shutting up the whole time because I was a mom. No, I don't know. I don't remember a whole lot of Focus being terrible. Was that where we did the towels?
We did the towels in Discovery and Focus, except for Focus was like a long ass time compared to
Yeah,
Discovery,
I
from what
think that
remember.
was the hardest part for me because I had like bloody knuckles, and I was like, I think I have mixed feelings about everything about the seminars. I think a lot of it is really toxic, but there were things that I did take out of them that did help me. Do you know what I mean? Like, but for the most part, a lot of it felt like just blaming, like victim blaming. You know what I mean?
Yeah. It's
But
taking like scientific ideas, like the inner child is a real thing, and
yeah,
that's
yeah,
like
yeah.
something that's extremely important for people that have trauma. If you like do inner work and like find your inner child or whatever, that innocent part of you, that
Yeah.
innocent self, like doing that inner work, like really is essentially what you do in therapy and stuff like that, is really when you get to the bottom of everything, what happened in your childhood that hurts you, to split off and create this alter of yourself to be able to deal with that kind of situation. But in the seminars, they take that and they fucking warp it and they make it super toxic, and they portray it the wrong way. Like, they had some good information in there, but a lot of it was completely bullshit. A lot of the sayings and like quotes were complete bullshit. Some of them were true, so it's like truth mixed with fiction, and then we just like completely just like make our own take on it. So I completely understand why it
You
was
said it perfect. You said exactly what I was, you know what I mean? Because like since leaving, I have gone to some therapy, and I do believe in, shadow work, or like, protecting your inner child, and that if you heal that portion, then, it helps heal everything else. But you're completely right. Everything you said, completely right. Like, they warped it to use it as a control tactic. So
Yep.
even though it was good information, it made it hard to digest, you know?
Yeah, and also they broke us down, but they didn't ever try and rebuild us back. Like, I get they said that they tried to rebuild us back, but I just got broken down.
Over and over again.
And then I was told I was like told what kind of person to be, but that person that they told me to be doesn't help me at all in life afterwards. Like, it actually was a detriment to my life. Like, I became the complete opposite of the kind of person that I was. Like, I was super
100%.
outgoing before I went in there, and then when I got out, it was like completely introverted, like to the point where I barely leave my house. So it's crazy. Um, with so did you do you remember doing principles after
Uh-huh.
focus?
I
Okay.
do remember principles.
Okay.
And
And
keys.
yep, and keys, and
Mm-hmm.
PC1 and PC2 and PC3.
Yeah, I got a
Um,
huge fight with my parents at PC1. Oh my God.
what happened? What happened there?
My mom and dad, my stepdad came to PC1. And at first it was great. Like, I'm so glad I got to see you guys. There was a lot of excitement. And then my mom was like, oh, it doesn't seem so bad here. Like, you look so good. And I just fucking snapped. I was like, it doesn't seem so bad here. Mom, it's awful here. I hate it here. And I just lost it. I don't know how I didn't get chosen out. I don't know how, like, I lost it. And it was like all that conditioning that they had put in me while I'd been there to like be compliant. Cause I really was to be compliant, like to chill out, like to do what you're told out the fucking window. I lost it. And my mom and dad were like, we're not coming back tomorrow for the second day. They did. And we acted like nothing happened because that's what how me and my parents always have been. But yeah, I fucking lost it on them. And then they held that against me for fucking months in letters. Well, we're scared to come to PC2. I was like, well, if you don't, then I can't graduate. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Um, yeah, I lost it. I forgot about that until you said PC1.
Okay. How long did it take you to get? They had junior staff there, correct? At Cross Creek, like upper levels where you had to
Yeah, we had
constantly.
upper levels.
Okay. How long did it take you to get onto the upper levels from when you got there?
So I got to level 5 after being there for a year,
Okay, damn.
about a year.
Okay, pretty decent, pretty decent.
Mm-hmm.
It like I swear they say that you can graduate within a year, but that's like literally you would have to come in the
I've seen
program
one
and just
person.
like
There was one person who graduated in 9 months there at Cross Creek.
yeah, it's extremely like you have to do everything perfect and you have to get along with all the staff members. The staff members have to all like you. The people
Mm-hmm.
there have to all like you. Like that's the only
Mm-hmm.
way that's gonna happen. Like you have to be favorited pretty much.
And you have to have an easy therapist because I don't know. I had 2 therapists in the time I was there. They switched me groups halfway through because they're like, we think that this other therapist is more what you need. The 2 roughest therapists there I had. Um, yeah, it was fucking rough. Like Ron June was an asshole. And when I look back, it was like being in an abusive relationship, the way he treated us.
Yeah.
Like it was bad. And then I got Parker after that, who specialized in sexual abuse victims. But he was fucking awful. He made me write a letter. He had my mom send a picture of me as a baby and put it on my binder and write horror over it. He said it was some kind of reverse therapy, but I had to display it on my binder in that like plastic thing. And then he had me write a letter to my younger self saying how I deserved all the sexual abuse I went through and what a piece of shit I was. Looking at that picture, he made me do it in front of the whole group. So I had 2 of the work, the I say therapist, and that's a stretch. I don't know if any of them were actually licensed. Like we found out about a lot after I got out of there, but I don't think any of them were actually licensed. Maybe one of them, you know. But there were some therapists that I don't want to say weren't that bad because I think if you're involved in something like one of these programs, you're that bad, but that are easier. Like
Yeah.
that girl who graduated 9 months, her therapist didn't do the kind of head games bullshit that my therapist did, you know?
Or he was grooming her or sexually abusing her the whole time and she had to keep her mouth shut. And then
That's
she was
fun.
favorited because of that. I mean, it could
That's
always be something like that too. My mind just goes to dark places because
no, it's not dark.
I know what they're capable of.
It's not unreasonable though, because things like that happened.
Yeah.
There was a doctor that came and it was mandatory. You did not get a choice whether you went and saw this doctor, like a female doctor, he would come to the campus and every girl had to go if you're over 13. And he would do pap smears on us. And I tried not to make my mind go there, but it felt like I was being sexually abused. It did not feel like a medical procedure. It did not feel right.
Yeah.
And you could not say, no, I'm not doing this. You had to do it. So there was just things that happened that are so out of the realm of what's appropriate or what's okay.
Totally.
You know?
How many people were there at Cross Creek if you had to estimate when you got there and when you left?
46, 100. So
Like
there
total?
was A, B, C, D, E, H, K, L, M. There was 9 groups. And I would say there's between 10 and 15 per group. So let's just say at the 10. So 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80, 90 on the girl side. So 100, I would say a little less than 200 altogether, boys and girls.
Okay.
But we really didn't see the boys. I mean, except in seminars. So.
Okay. And was it about the same when you left?
I would say so.
Okay. And let's see, what was the stupidest thing you ever got a consequence for?
Leaving my water bottle inside, not taking it with me to the bathroom because I left it in a room, so I abandoned it. So that was a neglect, which was a cat 3. To me, that was the dumbest fucking consequence.
Okay. And did you spend any time in study hall or intervention, solitary confinement? And I also want to know did they have solitary confinement or study hall or an equivalent at Skyview?
If they did at Skyview, I didn't know about it. So
Okay.
no, I didn't spend any at Skyview. But I spent a lot of time at Cross Creek in both. They called it worksheets, the study hall thing, and you just listened to tapes on repeat and you filled out stuff. So I spent a decent amount of time in there. I would say about a month straight I spent in there, but I spent a lot of time in solitary confinement. So it was downstairs in this room. They had these 2 rooms next to each other. They were like cement looking rooms from what I remember. And you just sit there. I mean, I don't know how long I was down there because there's no real fucking clocks or anything, you know. Yeah, I spent a lot of time, but I wasn't like most people. Like I faked it the first year I was there. I got to level 5. Nothing was wrong. I'm gonna be good now. Like I faked it, and then I just hit some kind of fucking wall, and I was like, I'm fucking done. I was just fucking done. So I was like, I'm not. I don't remember what it was either. Oh, yes, I do. I dropped all my levels because my grandmother was in the hospital and I was on a phone call with my mom in my therapist office. And I said, tell Nani I'll be home soon. And they took that as run plans and dropped me all my levels from level 5 down to a orange shirt because it was run plans. That's what it was. And I was supposed to go on home pass in 2 weeks because I was like going up for level 6. And so they had my home pass. My parents had already bought the ticket and all that stuff. And so I just stopped fucking caring. Like I got kind of crazy. Ron Garrett was like, I don't know, the top of the food chain there. He'd have a Ron meeting once a week and he'd say awful things. He used to call me stupid all the time in this really fucked up way. He gave me this bracelet that said you don't have to be a rocket scientist to be a good person. And he would demean me and call me like he just said things that were really fucked up. That had sexual undertones to them. And one day I just called him out. Like I just didn't care anymore. So I spent a lot of time in there. For about 6 months, I just like fucked around, and then my parents pulled me. So
Okay, so you were there like a month, or I mean a year and like 5 months?
I was there 18 months.
18 months. Okay. And did you graduate from there?
No. I would have, but my parents pulled me. My parents said they couldn't afford it anymore. They're like, you've already done everything they want you to. You finished all the seminars. You've gotten up to level 6, you know, and they want to drop you for dumb stuff. It's expensive every month.
Okay. What happened the day that they came and got you? What do you remember about that?
Oh, I remember that day we had a group and Parker put on a song and he said it was my goodbye group because everybody got a goodbye, like when they were going to graduate, a goodbye group. They play a song and everybody in the group would say something that they loved about them, their hopes for them and their fears for them. And then they'd let you hug everybody or whatever. And so he said, Krysta, this is your goodbye group. And I was like, what the fuck are you talking about? Like I've been fucking around. You know what I mean? Like I'm not graduating. And they played the song that was my song in Focus. It's a song from A Land Before Time. And it still makes me emotional for some reason. Every time I hear it, like triggers something. If We Hold On Together, whatever that song. So they played that song and then they played Ready to Fly, of course. And everybody said their thing. And then Parker was like, all right, come with me. And he walked me through the gym, and he walked me through the down hallways where the therapist office were. And there was these family rooms, and my stepdad was in there. And I started crying, and we walked outside, and I was outside the gates. They made me, my stepdad brought clothes for me to change first, and I changed, and then we walked out the gates. And he was like, are you happy to be out of there? I was like, so fucking happy. Like, so fucking happy. And then we got on a plane, because Skyview was in Utah, and I'm from California. So we got on a plane, we went home, and then they took me to the Bahamas for a week. And just acted like none of it happened. I would try to talk to them and be like, I don't think you understand what I went through there. And they'd be like, oh, but we took you to the Bahamas. Oh, but you're home now. Oh, but it cost us all this money. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Do you remember feeling like high after you got out of any of the seminars? Like, I just remember feeling high when I got out of the seminar.
I don't really remember Discovery very much, like the feeling after, but I did after Focus.
Okay.
I felt loved. You know, and not by the facilitators, but there was other people. Maybe it was just a trauma bond, but I felt like people cared about me who were in the same boat as I was. And I spent most of my life not feeling like anybody really cared about me. So, you know, yeah, maybe a little bit, like a rush.
Okay. What was the policy on runners at Cross Creek, and was there anybody that ran from there? And also, was there anybody that disappeared and was never found from Cross Creek?
I don't know if anybody disappeared. I'm not sure. But there was only one girl that I know of that was a runner. When you got to level 6, if you were 18, there was a grocery store in town that you could have a job at. It was like very selective hours. It was like pretty monitored. But there was a girl who had met a guy that lived in the town, and he helped her run. It was way before my time, but that's all I knew. There was that girl that tried to run. While I was there, I never saw anybody try to run. They were really strict. I mean, if you looked out the gate or out a window for more than 3 seconds, it was run plans. If you were going somewhere, because I did track and field, if you were going somewhere and you looked out the car window for too long, it was run plans. If you said that you were going to go home soon, that was run plan. You know what I mean? But they did have an alarm they would sound if somebody got out, and the whole town knew about it. So like they were basically told to like act if you see somebody in this like uniform.
Okay. And what was the hardest part about being at Cross Creek for you? And how did you manage it?
The hardest part about being at Cross Creek? Probably losing my sense of self. Like feeling like I could not be my own person at all. I mean, it was deeper than just wearing a matching uniform to everybody, right? Like it was like there was no uniqueness to me, and the therapeutic processes that I was put on were very, very damaging. And I felt like I had really no support while I was there, because I had a couple friends there, but the friends I had there, I was on silence from. And I felt like some of the people there would turn on you pretty quickly because it benefited them in their program. I don't know. I just felt like really alone.
Okay. Did you get put on any challenges when you were at Cross Creek?
Yeah. That's kind of like what the therapy process is. Whenever I spoke to a male staff, I had to get on my arms, on hands and knees, and bark like a dog. What was the other one? Oh, they put me on silence for 3 months on the island. So I couldn't talk to anybody, not even staff. If I had to go to the bathroom, I had to do this, or I could do that. If I was like thirsty or hungry, I had to like signal it. But I was not allowed to speak at all. If they heard my voice, like I was going to get rid of it. The dog thing really fucked me up. And then when I refused to do that, I was like, no, I'm not going to do that. Because I kind of thought it was a test. You know what I mean? Stand up for yourself, like trying to teach me to stand up for myself. And he's like, all right, well, then you can get on your knees and beg them to talk to you. And I was like, and he would like make me do it. He's like, you want to go to the bathroom? The only staff here is male. So if you want to go to the bathroom, get on your knees and beg that staff to go to the bathroom. It was so fucking demeaning.
Okay. And what have you struggled with the most as a result of being in these places?
Really bad PTSD. I constantly feel like people are mad at me. I constantly feel like I'm doing something wrong. Um, like people are judging me, like I don't fit in. Like, but like for real, like if the vibe feels like it's changed, if somebody has a different look on their face, I'm like they're mad at me and they hate me. You know, that's probably the biggest. I mean, eventually I kind of figured out the social stuff, right? It's been a long time, but that never went away. And I have panic attacks now. Like I had bad anxiety before I went to the programs, but I have panic attacks, like full on panic attacks. And that didn't happen until I got home. I'd have nightmares about going back and I'd wake up and like it'd be like a 30-minute, an hour ordeal. I could not breathe. I thought I was for sure dying. And it's really scary. And that's never gone away completely.
Okay. And did you have any struggles with hard drugs after you got out of the program?
I did. Yeah. I went through quite a bit of a stretch of addiction. Cocaine, mainly ecstasy, because it made me feel happy and I felt like nothing else did. I drank a lot. So yeah. And I wouldn't even touch a cigarette or anything before I went into the program. I was so against that stuff, but I just felt like I needed to numb. You know what I mean? I just didn't want to feel what I was feeling.
Okay, I feel that. And did you, what got you sober to stop doing that stuff?
My best friend shot himself in the head in front of me in 2015. And it was after a bender. We all had been like really fucked up, and he hadn't slept in a couple days, and he'd been using a lot of cocaine and a lot of other drugs, I'm sure pills and stuff. And it just fucked me up really bad. And well, I was still in California at the time. I got into my car and I drove straight to Tennessee, like just drove. Used the last money I had on gas. Slept in the parking lot at a rehab center because they didn't have a bed for me for 3 days, and got sober, and I never looked back.
Okay.
But it was some sorry.
He must have been having a come down.
Yeah.
Because I always felt like like killing myself when I would come down, especially off coke,
Yeah.
and it would happen
Yeah.
so fast. Like I'd do coke, and then I like 15 minutes tops later, if it was good coke, like 15 minutes tops, and then I'd be like, I either want to kill somebody or I want to fucking kill myself right now.
Yeah.
I need some more right now, and
Yeah.
so yeah, I feel that. Let's see. Have you tried talking to your parents about how this place affected you? Have they seen the program? Where are you?
So yeah, when the documentary came out, my stepdad sent me a really long message. You could tell it was sincere. You can tell he put a lot of thought into it, and that he said he had failed me, that he didn't know what to do, and he was really scared that I was gonna hurt myself, or that something worse was gonna happen, that I was living very chaotically, and he just wanted to help me. But he sees now how bad that place was, and he should have believed me. He brought up the PT1. He didn't say PT1. He was like, I remember coming out to see you, and you tried to tell me. And they told us before we went in there that you were gonna try to manipulate me. So I'm sorry. Like he was very. My mom was less like that. I mean, she was more like, how expensive it was. Like that's kind of always been her thing. She's like, we had to take out a second mortgage on the house. And I was like, yeah, but you guys chose to do that, you know? Um, so yeah, I feel like me and my stepdad are way closer now, and we have such a better relationship because of how he like took the time, and he like really heard me out, and he watched the documentary, and he apologized sincerely,
Totally. Okay, if you could go back in a time machine, knowing what you know now, and not go through either of these places, would you do it, and why?
Um, yes and no. I feel like I have the unique ability to to understand other people who've gone through it, and there's never going to be a time where there's not somebody who's gone through it, and that gives me a really unique place to be able to help people or to be there for somebody and understand where they're coming from. And I think that alone's worth it, that I went through it and I survived it. Um, but I mean, of course, I would like to have my childhood back or my teenagers, you know?
For sure. Okay. And what do you think would have helped you instead of being sent away?
Somebody would just listen to me. The only reason I was lashing out or acting out so much is because nobody would listen. While I was being sexually abused, my grandfather would say things like, if you tell anybody, I'm going to kill your whole family. I'm going to kill you. I'll make you regret it if you ever tell anybody. So I didn't. But like, I'm a parent now. If my child was depressed at such a young age, and my child was acting a certain way, if I was fearful, I would have asked more questions. I would have tried to be there for them. I would have listened. You know, I wouldn't have, my parents treated me like I was a burden. So I got louder because I wanted somebody to listen. But I think it's something as small as like paying attention and, you know, not neglecting me or treating me like a burden. I think that would have done it.
Okay.
You know?
And you want to speak a little bit on your activism, what you do? Like your interviews and stuff.
Yeah, I mean, I've done a couple podcasts with other, you know, survivors. I'm in the process of writing a book. It's taking longer than I thought, I guess. So sometimes when trauma comes back up, it's really painful. And so it's taken longer than I thought, but I'm working on my book. Um, I just try to be there for people, you know, in the community more than anything, because that's what I needed, you know, and that's what, if I was struggling, that's what I would need. Help them get resources. Um, I've helped a couple survivors get on their feet, you know, so that's kind of what I like to be in the community, is just somebody that is a listening ear. You know, if they're struggling and they don't have anywhere to turn, like, I'll be there.
Okay. And what happened after you got out of the program?
Well, my home contract, I don't know if you guys had those, like that went out the window the first day. Immediately, I'm talking like immediately, life went back to like normal. And it wasn't a year after I got out, I was using drugs. Like, it wasn't a year. My parents knew there was nothing they could do. Like, they've done all they could do. They were out of money. They couldn't send me again.
Okay.
They did send my brother, though.
They sent your brother away?
Uh-huh. Yeah, well, my brother was a little bit different case. He got arrested for meth. Like, he had meth on him. And he's 18 months younger than I am. So he was like 15, he's like 14. And so they gave him two options. It was like juvenile, or then my parents were like, what about this program? They're like, or he can go there. And he picked the program. So.
Okay. How long was he there?
Like 8 months.
And where did he go? Cross Creek?
Mm-hmm. He had the same therapist as I did too, Parker.
That's crazy. Have you talked to him about your experiences?
With Evan, my brother? Not really. He thinks it saved his life.
Okay.
So he was like, I was going to die. I was taking meth. He got arrested because he showed up at our Applebee's, took off all his clothes, was high on meth, thought people were chasing him. Like, he was bad. He was going through, like, it was bad. So he, honest to God, believes that it saved his life. And anytime I bring it up, he's like, you're a sissy. He's like, get the fuck over it. He's like, you went through a fucking program. Like, get over it. Like, he's very, yeah. So no, we don't really talk about it because we have very different views on it.
Okay, he fully drank the Kool-Aid then.
Yes.
There's a couple people like that.
Mm-hmm.
Is there anything else you want people to know about your experience, or anything that you might tell a parent thinking about sending their kid to a place like this?
Don't send your kid somewhere like this. And this is a conversation I've had. I have a stepson. He is 14. We have full custody of him now. His mom basically just gave us custody, but a couple years ago when he was like 11 or 12, she was like, hey, what was the name of that place you went to? The school your parents sent you to? And I was like, Cross Creek, but it shut down. And she's like, well, is there any like it still? And she had known about my traumatic experiences there because I'm very open about it online. And I was like, why? And she wanted to send Logan, my stepson. And I said, it's going to cause him a lifetime of trauma and it's not going to help him. And she said that she didn't care. She couldn't deal with him. So she basically gave us custody a couple years ago. So we've had him since then. But I'll tell you what I told her, you know, tell any parent out there that is thinking about sending your kid that kids need love and attention, and they need validation and understanding. And those 4 small things can go such a far way. When kids act out, when kids are depressed, when kids do things, especially when they're like out of character, there's a reason for it. There are no bad kids. I really believe that. But as a child or a young adult, you don't know how to handle these big feelings yet. And these complex, you know, things. Like I didn't understand how to deal with something as complex as child abuse. I didn't know, you know? And so if I would have had the right resources and just a little bit of validation and understanding, I think things would have turned out a lot different. So.
Okay. And were you ever made to admit to things that you hadn't done or experienced any of these places? Okay.
In my confession letter, they're like, you did drugs, you smoked weed. I was like, no, I didn't. They're like, if you lie, we're gonna hold you back from go. I was like, okay. So I told my mom I drank. I told my mom I smoked weed, but I never did. Not before, anyways. I definitely did after.
Okay. Well, thank you so much for coming on the show. I really appreciate it. If you ever want to do a part 2, if you forget stuff, if this stuff comes up, which usually happens, or if you just want to do a part 2, just let me know and we will make it happen. And if you watched so far on the video, please make sure you give it a like, share, and we will catch you on the next one. Bye, y'all.
Bye.